All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to be looking at the life of Leonardo da Vinci. Now, we talked about him a very little bit last week. We were talking about how he was a Renaissance man and things like that. We're going to look a little bit more in depth about him and basically kind of break up that mandala thought of effect on him. And one of the main things is I'm going to try to show you is that he didn't complete everything that he did, and so just keep that in mind, okay? Because it's going to be a common theme for this lesson. All right, so the objective today is we're going to analyze how Da Vinci became a famous artist, okay? And then we're going to examine what happened to the artwork he created, you know, excuse me. And then lastly, we're going to create an argument on whether Da Vinci's Mona Lisa is actually complete or not, okay? Now, speaking of the Mona Lisa, that is your warm-up picture. All right. So the first question I ask you is not, like how it was before, name three things like that. No. This one is uh, to make a prediction. Who is she and what's her relation to Da Vinci? Okay. Do you make a prediction? Do you think that's his sister, his mother? Is it his wife? You know, um, is it somebody he just thought of in his head? Is it somebody he was paid to make a portrait of? You take a guess. Okay. The second question is, where's she at? Look at that background and basically take a guess, like based off what you see in the background, where is she? What's in the background? You know, so go ahead, pause the video, take some time to make your responses, but we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. Da Vinci, he was born out of wedlock. Okay, his mother and father never got married. They actually just had him, and that was it. The mother had other kids with, other men. The father had kids with another woman, but together, all they had was Da Vinci. Okay. Now, the thing is, Da Vinci didn't really receive any type of formal education, but he did learn the basics, reading, writing, math, simple math. And the thing is, though, Da Vinci's father saw that, he's pretty talented for a kid who doesn't, has no formal education, doesn't know about much like taking classes in art and stuff like that. He's actually a really good painter and pretty good sculptor. So there's this famous sculptor and painter named Andre Del, I'm gonna kill his last name, Verrocchio, Chio. And the thing is, the father tells him, "Hey, would you take my son under your wing and teach him what you know?" You know, and so the famous sculptor, Andre says, "Yeah, yeah, I'll take him under my wing. He'll be my apprentice. I'll be his master." And then as time goes on, Da Vinci learns about from him how to sculpt, how to paint, how to mix colors, how to make things look, realistic, things like that. So Da Vinci becomes his own master in 1478, and then about 4 years later, he gets his first commission job. Someone pays him to paint something for them. Here's the thing: Da Vinci never finishes it. He doesn't finish it completely, and that's a common theme you're going to see again about him. Okay. Now, during class, I would ask you guys to basically pick which one do you think is better, the one on the left or the one on the right. Which one do you think is a better picture? All right. But the thing that both of them have in common, if you notice, is that they're both not complete. They're both not done completely. Yeah, the like the dog, the front part, the nose and eyes, it's beautifully done, very detailed, um, but it's not complete. Same thing with this lion-looking thing. Look at the tongue and the mouth open, the eyes, the hair, this and that, the flow of it. There's action to this, but as you can see, that it's not complete. Okay. Um, and another thing too about Da Vinci, when it comes to his sketching, um, supposedly he had a keen eye, like he could see something for a second and remember it and draw it. So if, like, say this dog was looking around, this and that, he for 1 second could see the dog how it is like right there, and then be able to draw it exactly where the coloring is, the light angles, stuff like that. Same thing with the bird in the sky. That once it opened his wing, if he saw it, he could draw it exactly. Okay, so he did have a keen eye. So the thing is, he went to Milan, and he actually was kind of associated with the Forza clan. Now, the thing is, with this group, with this family, he was their engineer, he was their painter, the architect. He designed their courts, you know, and he was a sculptor. So he was a jack of all trades for them. He was doing everything. Now, the one thing that he created, which would have been like, besides the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, would have been like the one thing that's like, oh my gosh, look at this, was this 16-foot horse. The Forza family wanted Da Vinci to create this 16-foot horse made of bronze in honor of one of their family members. Now Da Vinci is like, yeah, I can do it, but the thing is, he did it off and on for like 12 years, creating this horse, doing the clay, shaping it, things like that. Um, but he didn't devote like just so much time into it. He just went off and on it. Okay. Now he was basically about done. 16-foot horse, by 16 feet high, by like 6 feet wide. So it's a good size statue. But the thing is, in 1493, um, he finished it, and basically now it comes to the part with the bronze. But that's where some issues come up. The French actually march into Milan, and the Milan government people are like, "Hey, France, don't attack us. In fact, as a little tribute, as a way of saying, don't attack us, please. Here are some bronze. This is the same bronze that was going to be used on the horse." The French God took it and they said, "Okay, thanks," and they made cannonballs out of that bronze, and they shot it into the city of Milan. So they took the bronze from the city and shot it right back at them in cannonballs. Okay. So the French take over Milan, uh, and the thing is, the horse is used for target practice. The French would shoot guns at it, they would throw knives, things like that. And as time went on, the chunks of the horse would come off, things like that. And by 1499, the horse was basically completely gone. So what should have been really Da Vinci's prized creation ends up being destroyed. So here's my first question to you. Of all of Da Vinci's skill and talent, which one do you feel is the most impressive? Is it being the engineer, the painter, the architect, the designer of courts, or sculptor? Okay. Which one to you is the most impressive? Now remember, he did not have much of an education. He taught himself and stuff like that. He learned from other people. So which one to you is the most impressive? Now, I had a student did tell me something very interesting. They said that if you notice, each one of these jobs, it's almost a requirement that you have to have attention to detail. That was an awesome response that I got from them. So Think of it like that. If you're looking at that aspect, attention to detail, which one has more? Which one do you need more attention to detail on? Okay. So again, it's what you believe, it's what you think. Which one's the most impressive? Okay. So pause the video, go ahead and write your response. But we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's the thing. There's a few of his paintings and sculptures that actually survived. You're going to learn a little bit what happened to some of his stuff. Okay, but a lot of his painting and sculptures did not survive. One of the most famous that did survive is this picture right here, The Last Supper. A lot of you guys probably seen it in pictures and in movies and things like that, depictions of it in movies. The thing is, a lot of people think it's a painting like on a canvas. It's not. It's on a wall. Okay, it's 29 feet long. Okay, and 15 feet high. So it's not a tiny little painting. It's big, and it's one of the very few paintings that Da Vinci did where he was like, "Okay, it looks good. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. I'm gonna leave it alone. It's perfect." Okay, so again, it's on a building, it's inside, 29 feet long, 15 feet high. Okay, now the Mona Lisa, the warm-up picture, just in case you forgot, it is relatively small. Okay, it's 21 inches wide, so less than 2 feet, and it's 31 inches tall. So again, it's not that big of a painting, but it's still one of the most recognizable paintings of all time. So here's a little fun history facts about it. It took him 4 years to complete it, but the thing is, he personally felt he never completed it. So unlike the Last Supper, where he was like, "Okay, this looks good, I'm done," the Mona Lisa, he always felt like it needed something more. He could do better. It just needs to add a little something here or there, things like that. Another one is he never gave it away. He never gave it away. He carried it with him when he moved from place to place, and he kept it with him until he died. Now, another one of the mandala effect thing is the Mona Lisa. It's always been the Mona Lisa. That's not true. Its original name was La Gioconda. La Gioconda. Now, who is the Mona Lisa? That is where there's some controversy. Because the thing is, there's no real true definitive thing saying this is exactly who she is and things like that. There's strong leads to several of them. But the top two is that there was this girl named Mona Lisa Girardini. I know I killed that last name, but sorry. The thing is, she was a courtesan. And the thing is that they say that Da Vinci painted her, had her sit down, he painted her, things like that. For what reason? Maybe because of her beauty. Maybe she paid him, or somebody wanted a portrait of her and they paid him. The other one is that it was this girl named Lisa della Giocondo, right? Not Gioconda, Giocondo. And she's the daughter of a famous merchant named Fernando del Giocondo. And that he basically told Da Vinci, "Hey, I'll pay you to paint a portrait of my daughter." You know. Now, some people also say that the Mona Lisa, it's maybe a portrait of himself, a self-portrait, but him as a girl. Some people say, "Oh no, it's just a girl from his imagination." You know, which is it? I don't know, but these two have some support to them. You know. Okay, so here's my question to you. What could be some possible reasons why Da Vinci never gave up or gave away the Mona Lisa? What could be some possible reasons? Besides I'm not finished with it. What else could be there? What else could be another reason why he held on to it? Because if he was like, oh, it's not finished or I don't like it, whatever. If he didn't like it, he would have tossed it or gave it away. But there's something about it that he had to keep it with him. So what do you think it could have been? Okay. So go ahead, pause the video, give your response, and we're gonna be moving on in three, two, one. Now, Da Vinci wasn't like I kind of told you guys, he didn't finish all his work, but he wasn't a slouch either. He didn't just sit around and do nothing. This guy was always trying to learn stuff: nature, mechanics, anatomy, the body, physics, architecture, weaponry. He studied all the time. And the thing is, a lot of his stuff he made, especially the mechanics and weaponry, they were workable. They worked. He had designs that look a lot like a bicycle. Created a design that really looked like a helicopter, a submarine, also a tank. But here's another thing too. Some of the stuff that he was told, hey, we need you to make weapons, this and that. He was so smart and so good that he could actually put a flaw in the system, and it would take years for people to finally look back at his stuff and go, this thing wouldn't work because of this. And it seems like he knew that, and he purposely put that thing just in case someone tried to make weapons out of his designs, and then thing wouldn't work. Okay. Now, like I told you guys, Da Vinci had a lot of paintings and projects that were not finished. He started something and then stopped. Okay. He spent a lot of time in nature, studying scientific law. He dissected bodies because he would look at things and go, why is the arm, well, it's like this? Why is it, you know, like in a ball? And then when you put it back here, why is it stretched? You know, and then back here it's not, but back here, now you do that, now it's all tense. Why is that? You know, how's a baby positioned in a woman's body? How does the skull work? Things like that. He did that kind of stuff, and back then that was that's like kind of like a no-no. You weren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to let the dead be at peace. You weren't supposed to cut them up and things like that. But he did, and he wrote down everything he observed. Now here's the thing: he had a notebook. The notebooks had the paintings, the architecture, mechanics, his notes on the anatomy. And thing is, here's the really cool thing: he wrote just like this. If you look on top here, that picture, that's how he wrote. Now, if you look at it just like this, you would be looking like, what is that? What does it say? But if you take a mirror and you put it to the side of the message, you could read it. It'll make complete sense. It's called mirror writing. All right. So there's the example on the bottom right there. It says it takes a different, quieter part of the brain to write in mirror. Okay. It's pretty interesting. So to give you a little example, it says this is what mirror writing looks like. Now you try it, because here's the thing. In class, I actually gave you guys, students, a chance to write backwards, and in class, only like one or two students actually did it. Sad to say. But the thing is, I gave you a chance, and at first, I'm kidding you not, it is weird to write in the mirror, but after a while, you kind of get used to it. You kind of pick up on it. It's pretty interesting how that works. Okay. Now here's the thing. Da Vinci's notebooks, the one with the anatomy, how the body works, lungs, muscle, stuff like that. He didn't get much fame from it because his book, he never published it. And let's say he did near the end, there were already other books that were created. Don't get me wrong, the artwork is amazing if you ever get to look at it, but other people publish stuffs already about the anatomy, how the body works, and things like that. Okay, so for all that work, all that stuff, he didn't get much fame for it. Now, in 1516, he left Italy, and this is where the French King Francis I was like, dude, I gotta have you working for me. And he basically gave him the title Premier Painter and Engineer and Architect to the King. Now, what does that mean? He's going to get paid to basically paint and draw whenever and whatever he wanted. Right? And on top of that, he was going to get a home, a very nice home called Chateau de Cleux, which means the Castle of Clouds. Thing is, he didn't get to enjoy it that long. He died like 3 years later at the age of 67. Now, back then, that was pretty old. That was a good long life. But here's where the sad part comes in. His notebook, the thing I told you that had all his pictures, his notes, and things like that, his designs, pages were ripped out. That book was called his codexes. They were ripped out, and people would sell them. Like, oh, you have a page. Buy this page from Da Vinci's notebook. We got a page right here for this and that. So there's a lot of stuff that we could have learned from that got ripped up, sold elsewhere, got lost, got destroyed, you know, that we lost, you know, because people were trying to make a quick buck. And here's another sad part. He did die and was buried in France. But during the French Revolution, a lot of grave sites were destroyed. The headstones were destroyed, and they didn't really keep track of like who's buried where. They didn't have like a map that said this is where so and so is buried. They just looked at the tombstone. But since that got destroyed, basically they had to go around going like, he was buried around this area. That's the best they can do, you know. So it's really impossible to know exactly where he was buried, but they know it's in a certain area. All right, so here's my question to you. Do you feel Leonardo da Vinci should be considered an influential person? Why or why not? Okay, so think about the stuff he finished or didn't finish, stuff that he's known for. You know, um, and again, not everything he created was out in the open, but people knew about it, they heard about it, things like that. But it wasn't like he finished it all. So again, do you think he should be considered an influential person based off what you learned? Okay. So pause the video, go ahead and keep writing, but we're gonna move on. We're gonna be moving on in 3, 2, 1. Now we come to your exit ticket. So you pick one of these three questions. First one is, what is the most impressive thing Da Vinci had done? Why do you feel that was the most impressive? So was it his designing weapons, his anatomy stuff? Was it his painting, his sculptures, stuff like that? What do you think is the most impressive thing? Second one is, if Da Vinci had completed all his projects, and I'm talking about his artwork, his design, his weaponry, all that stuff, do you feel we'd be more advanced or would we be still the same? And why do you think that way? Okay. The last one is, what could be some possible reasons why Da Vinci didn't finish a lot of his work? What could be some possible reasons why he would start drawing or painting something and then stop? Start designing a building, then stop. Start painting something for somebody and then stop. What could be some possible reasons for him? Okay. So once you picked one and you've answered it, that's it for you. You're finished with this lesson. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you learned something that you might like and remember for years to come. Okay. Um, but that's it. Okay. So you guys take care and you be safe.